Hey everybody, Miss Dietrich. We're looking at the L31 question number 1. I do have other videos that show a different process for answering this question, that if the process I'm going to show you here doesn't make sense to you, then make sure you visit the other videos that I have, because I think in those videos I talk about using ratios to figuring out the answer. All right, so if we take a look at the question, it's saying select the 3 sentences about the volume of this rectangular prism that are true. So let's look at choice A. It says if each cube has edges of 1/8 inch, the volume of the prism is 3/16. So let's just kind of count what we're dealing with here. Let's move that out of the way. So if this is 1/8 of an inch, then doesn't that mean that we would need 8 of those to make up a full inch? So let's see if we have 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so that means that the entire length of this blue line would be 1 inch, because there are 8 of them, and each one is 1/8. All right, now going up this way, if we count, this is 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. Isn't 4/8 a half an inch? So let's write that in simplest form as a half an inch. And going back, as far as the depth going this way, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8 of an inch. All right, so if we apply these numbers, so we're not counting the cubes, we're counting the actual, inches. So this is in inches, so is this. I didn't write it, but maybe I should have. All right, so the volume, if we're figuring out to see if that's going to equal 3/16, which is what they're exploring here, we're looking at choice A, by the way. We're exploring the 1/8 inch cube. So let's fill out or substitute in our values. So remember, it's length times width times height. Volume equals, and let's use 1 as the length. Let's use 3/8 as the width. And let's use 1/2 as the height. And again, we're checking to see, if we multiply this together, do we get this number of 3/16? So if we simplify this, and some people even like to stick a 1 underneath this just to keep it kind of neat and tidy. We don't really have any reducing opportunities. So 1 times 3 times 1 would be 3. 1 times 8 times 2 would be 16. So it does look like we're gonna pick this as being one of the 3 true statements. So I'm just gonna put a T for true next to that. All right, so let's use the similar strategy to explore choice B. So now let's look at the idea that each of these is 1/6, right? 1/6 of an inch. So this would be 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, 6/6 inches. So right here, 6 of those, that would be 1 inch right there, would it not? So if that's 1 inch, the red line, we have a little more than that, right? We have 1 and 2 6s left over. So really this is equal to 1 1/3 inches if we go all the way to the end, right? Because remember, 6 6s would be equal to 6/6 of an inch is equal to 1 inch, and we had the 2 left over. So that really ends up equaling 1 1/3 inches. Now let's count how many 6s we have going this way. 1 6, 2 6, 3 6, 4 6s. How about we simplify that to being 2/3 of an inch? And going this way, 1 6, 2 6, 3 6s. So that's equal to 1/2. All right, let's substitute these values into our formula, which is length times width times height. Our length is 1 1/3, so how about we turn that into an improper fraction? This would be equal to 3 times 1, plus this would be 4/3. The width is right here, 1/2, and the height is 2/3 inches. All right, and we're going to multiply all this together to see if we get this number that they're talking about, which is 4/9. So we could, in this case, let's simplify here and here. 2 is a factor of both of those. And I don't see any other places where we can simplify. So we're ready to go across, and we're going to multiply 4 times 1 times 1. This times this times this would be 4. This times this would be 9. Now let's compare that to what they have. That looks to be true, right? So let's put a T next to that. That's true. We have to pick one more. All right, so let's look at some of the other choices. Let's move on to choice C. If each cube has edges of 1/4 inch, the volume of the prism is 1 1/4 cubic inches. So let's count how many, if this is supposed to be 1/4 of an inch, the length on that. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, there's 1 inch. 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4. Doesn't 8/4 simplify to be 2? That's 2 inches, right? So remember, 4/4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. So between those two red lines is 1 inch, so we have 2 inches there. All right, now going up, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, that's 1 inch. And going back, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 of an inch. All right, so now let's find the product of 1 times 2 times 3/4, because remember, the formula for volume is length times width times height. Volume equals, we'll call this the length, we'll call this the width, and let's call this the height. All right, and we can reduce going this way. 2 goes into that once, 2 goes into that twice. 1 times 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. So you're going to take it from there. If I do 3 and divide that by 2, is that going to equal 1 1/4? So you're going to figure that out by actually dividing that out. So I'm not going to tell the answer because I want you to finish that on your own. That may or may not be one of the true ones. But let's look at choice D. So choice D, we have if each cube has edges of 1/3 inch, the volume of the prism would be 3 5/9 cubic units. So if they're saying that that line right there is 1/3 of an inch, let's count it out. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So there's an inch, right? There's 3/3. 4/3, 5/3, 6/3. So now we're up to 2 inches, right? That's 2 inches right there that I have traced in green. We have a little more than that, right? So we have 2 and a little more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/3, 7/3, 8/3. Now I think what I'm going to do is let's leave it as an improper fraction because that might actually be easier. Let's leave it as 8/3. The whole thing is 8/3. That's from here to here, which of course some of you know that that's equal to 2 and a little bit more. All right, going up, it's 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3. So again, let's leave it as an improper fraction. And going back, we have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Now 3/3, that's super easy to simplify. We might as well use that as 1. 3/3 is equal to 1. Let's put all the numbers in the formula. Volume equals length times width times height. Volume equals, we'll use this as the length and we'll leave it as an improper fraction. 8/3 times, this is the width. We'll use the improper fraction, or I'm sorry, the simplified version of that of 1, times 4/3 as the height. Now, if you want to, you can stick a 1 underneath this if it helps to keep things a little tidy. We don't really have any reducing opportunities, so we're going to go across. What's 8 times 1 times 4? Hopefully you're getting 32. 3 times 1 times 3 would be 9. So now your next step is to explore whether or not this value that I have here in green, is it equal to 3 5/9? So to find out, you need to do 32 and divide that by 9. All right, and see if you get that. All right, so let's look at choice E. Now remember, I'm not telling you the answer. You got to take it from there. Choice E, let's look at that one. And let's say each cube, if each cube has an edge of a 1/2 inch, so that's a 1/2 inch right there, that green line. So that means that this is a full inch, doesn't it? That line is 1 inch. So you need 2 to make 1 inch. So now we have 2 inches right there. This would make 3 inches. This would make 4 inches. But we could just simply talk about it in terms of halves, but it is equal to 4. We could say we have 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves, 7 halves, 8 halves. And did you know that 4 is equal to 8 halves? So you could use either of these to represent it, but this is more user-friendly. Going up, we have 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves. 4 halves, that's equal to 2. Going back, going this way, we have 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves. So I'm just going to write it as an improper fraction. But that is equal to 1.5, by the way. All right, so let's take our simplified numbers. Let's take this, which is the simplified form, this, and let's leave it as an improper fraction. We're going to use these values in the formula. The formula, again, is volume equals length times width times height. So we're going to do, this is the length, we'll use 4. Width, 3 halves. And height, we'll use the 2. All right, and how about we simplify here and here? All right, so what do you have left to do? You have to multiply 4 times 3 times 1, divided by 1, and see if you get 16. And if you do, that's one of the ones you're going to pick. All right, so if this strategy, if this approach does not sit well with you, or it seems like a lot of work, and you want to try the ratio approach, then do check out my other videos that I have posted, because for some of you, maybe that strategy will be a bit easier.